Will sing, will sing Vrindavan Ramyasthana. Raja Hamsa Chare Kahe Shobhe Kana Kamala Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudeva ki jai, Nitai Gaur, Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Just a second, Prabhuji, and I'll just come back.
Hare Krishna. So we'll do the Mangalacharan prayers and then we'll get started. Om Agyantivirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Nama. Namo Brahmanyaya Devaya Gau Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Prabhujis and Matajis, Dandvat Pranam to each one of you. Thank you for joining the call. So let me, so I hope we have to start from 29th shloka in 5th canto, chapter 14th. Can somebody confirm? I was not there till the last in Suma Mataji's class yesterday. So if somebody can confirm that we can start from, then we'll start from 29th. Otherwise, we'll start from wherever Suma Mataji left yesterday. Okay, so I'm assuming that we have finished till 28th, and we'll start with 29th shloka. So we are discussing Canto 5, chapter 14th, and
Prabhuji,
this
Hare
chapter.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you can adjust your camera, Prabhu. We can see half your face. Thank you.
Is it okay now, Prabhuji? Better?
Yes, Prabhu.
Just a moment. Yeah, this is okay, Prabhuji, right? Yeah, okay. So we are discussing chapter 14th, the material world as the great forest of enjoyment. So I think Lilananda Prabhuji started this chapter, and he discussed about that. This chapter, I mean, is very unique, right? I mean, see, Sukadev Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, and he's talking about the material world, and if you look at it, like Parikshit Maharaj is going to die after few days, right? And he is more interested in learning about the Supreme Lord rather than trying to understand the material world, right? But because he himself has renounced this material world, he gave up his kingdom immediately, and he renounced his family. So he's very much aware of what the material world is and how to renounce it. But still, Sukdev Goswami is talking about this material world to Parikshit Maharaj, and because this is part of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And Srimad Bhagavatam has only two purposes, right? One purpose is to destroy a devotee's attraction to this material world. Simply destroy and get away. Srimad Bhagavatam is such a scripture that it wants to destroy the attraction which we have for this material world. So that's why Sukdev Goswami is speaking about this material world to Parikshit Maharaj. Though Parikshit Maharaj understands all this, knows about all this, and he has already renounced the material world. And he's not. I mean, Parikshit Maharaj, as we know, he's going to die, and he's more interested in knowing about the Supreme Lord, right? He wants to hear the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, and he wants to understand the glories of the Supreme Lord, and not would want to hear something about the material world. But since the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the main purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is to destroy the attraction of the Supreme Lord, destroy the attraction of the devotees or attraction of the general people towards the material world, right? So somebody reading Srimad Bhagavatam must understand that how dangerous this material world is, right? And hence a chapter of this kind is there. And also this comes as part of the discussion between Jadabharata and Rahugana, right? And here actually it's an allegorical chapter, right? So and Sukdev Goswami is directly discussing, telling this to Parikshit Maharaj. So let's go to Shloka 29, from where we'll start our discussion. So yesterday, actually, Suma Mataji had put up, I mean, she had given a very wonderful class where she discussed about how this material world is structured and who are the enemies. And she started with saying that the number one enemy is our family, right? The another enemy is our education. I mean, this is really, really strong, right? I mean, think about it, right? We never think like this, right? Did we ever, I mean, before, even in fact, even after coming to Krishna consciousness, we would have not heard about the statement so directly, right? That the family is our number one enemy, or our education is our enemy, or so many things here which we take like which we want, right? We have acquired all this, right? We have acquired our education, we have built our family, and so much, right? We have spent so much effort to do all this, and what we are coming to know about it is these are all our enemies, right? It's like it's really, really mind boggling, and really, really I would say shocking, and it's not easy to understand and take this, right? It's very, very difficult. It's not, we cannot digest it so easily. So and that's why, as I said, right, Srimad Bhagavatam is not here to uh, to say goody goodies to us, and the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is to destroy this attraction, the attraction which we have for the material world. So with this, we'll start reading the first translation. So the translation here is very big. The first translation itself is very big. So let's anybody would want to volunteer?
Hare Krishna. Can I read?
Yeah, please, Mataji, go ahead.
Yeah. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The personal weapon used by Lord Krishna, the disc, is called Hari Chakra, the disc of Hari. This chakra is the wheel of time. It expands from the beginning of the atoms up to the time of Brahma's death. Yeah. And it controls all activities. It is always revolving and spending the lives of the living entities, from Lord Brahma down to an insignificant blade of grass. Thus one changes from infancy to childhood to youth and maturity, and thus one approaches the end of life. It is impossible to check this wheel of time. This wheel is very exacting because it is the personal weapon of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes the conditioned soul, fearing the approach of death, wants to worship someone who can save him from imminent danger. Yet he does not care for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose weapon is the indefatigable time factor. The conditioned soul instead takes shelter of a man-made god described in unauthorized scriptures. Such gods are like buzzards, vultures, herons, and crows. Vedic scriptures do not refer to them. Imminent death is like the attack of a lion, and neither vultures, buzzards, crows, nor herons can save one from such an attack. One who takes shelter of unauthorized, man-made gods cannot be saved from the clutches of death.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Somebody would want to read the purport?
Should I continue the purport, Prabhuji?
Yeah, Mataji.
Yes,
go ahead.
Prabhuji, I can.
You can read,
Okay.
Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead, Mahesh Prabhu, you can read.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Sorry.
Yeah. Purport is green. This His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. It is stated, Harim Vinamrutam Na Taranti. Okay, Prabhuji?
Go ahead, Prabhuji, sorry.
It is stated, Harim Vina Mrutam Na Taranti. No one can save himself from cruel hands of death without being favored by Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Mam evaye prapadyante mayam etat tarantite. Whoever fully surrenders unto Krishna can be saved from the cruel hands of material nature. The conditioned soul, however, sometimes wants to take shelter of a demigod, man-made god, pseudo-incarnation, or bogus Swami or Yogi. All these cheaters claim to follow religious principles, and all this has been very popular in this age of Kali. There are many people, there are many pasandis who, without referring to the Shastras, pose themselves as incarnations, and foolish people follow them. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has left behind him Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Not referring to these authorized scriptures, rascals take shelter of man-made scriptures and try to compete with Lord Krishna. That is the greatest difficulty one encounters when trying to promote spiritual consciousness in human society. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying its best to bring people back to Krishna consciousness in its pure form. But the Pashandis and atheists who are cheaters are so numerous that sometimes we become perplexed and wonder how to push this movement forward. In any case, we cannot accept the unauthorized ways of so-called incarnations, gods, cheaters, and bluffers, who are described here as crows, vultures, buzzards, and herons.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. So this word Hari Chakra, right? Now, if you remember, I mean, when I read this translation and the disc of Hari, so immediately I remembered that B.R. Chopra, right? That Mahabharat serial used to start with that, right? That time, that chakra, right? If you remember, right? And it says, "Main Kaal hoon," right? Right? It used to start with that, and that was authentic, right? That this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, right? That is the chakra of wheel, or the time, the wheel of time, right? And if you look into this material world, right? Everything here is like a chakra only, right? Everything revolves, right? If you have studied mechanical engineering, right? They will tell you that the basic movement which is available is rotation, right? Only rotation. And from rotation, they are using some mechanical systems, they convert it to linear motion and different kinds of motion. But the basic, or whatever the basic fundamental movement in this material world is about rotation. In fact, if you look at it, everything is just like a periodic rotation, like days, right? It starts, morning comes, the evening, night, and then again morning, and it's all rotation, right? It is rotating continuously. Weeks also, right? It starts like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, again the same thing is repeated. Months repeated, right? 12 months, and again it rotates. So you can see this rotation movement, or the rotation is a very common thing, right? Even for us, right? Even our bodies, like even for us, we take birth, we grow, we become stable, then we produce offsprings, and then we become old, and then we die, and again we take another body, and this rotation continues. So you can see that in this material world, everything is rotating, and it is being controlled by this wheel of time, right? Even fundamental, like basic movements in the atoms, like the electrons are rotating around that what is called as the nucleus, right? As we studied in chemistry. So you can see that even the planets, right, are rotating around the sun. Even the earth is rotating around itself, right? So all these movements, if you see, are all rotations, and it's the Hari Chakra which is controlling all this, right? That's the time which is controlling everything. And Lord Shri Krishna says also in Bhagavad Gita that time I am, and I have come here to devour everybody, right? And nobody can escape this Hari Chakra. Nobody can escape it. And if you compare this with like nothing here, like in the material world, nothing here goes perpetually in one direction, right? If you are if you are distressed, you'll become happy after some time, and then again distress will come. So nothing is perpetual here. You are never perpetually unhappy, and you are never perpetually happy, right? So nothing here is happens in one kind of a direction. But if you compare this with the spiritual world, right, there you see that Krishna's beauty is perpetually increasing. It's a one direction movement, right? The bliss in Krishna consciousness, if you practice it seriously, it will perpetually increase, right? That's what spiritual world is not a rotation, right? But it's like a in one direction, right? है ना? And in there the beauty of Krishna is perpetually increasing. The youthfulness of Krishna is perpetually increasing. Is now a yovanamacha, right? So you can see the comparison in material world and the comparison in the spiritual world. And in spiritual world, it is like it is perpetually increasing. Your bliss will increase, your happiness will increase, right? And even in this bhakti or spiritual life, right? That's why, like, if you do some bhakti, you start with that same amount of bhakti in the next life, right? You finished it at some point, you again pick up that from that point, and you continue, right? So you can see the difference here between the material world and the spiritual world, right? The material world is always just going round and round and round, but in spiritual world it keeps increasing, right? And that's what this Hari Chakra or that wheel of time is signifying, and it controls everything, and nobody can check this wheel of time, as mentioned here. Now the other important point here which is mentioned is about the fake gurus, right? Or about people take shelter of man-made gods described in unauthorized scriptures. So we can see that Prabhupada himself, he always wanted to defeat Mayavad, or Madhvacharya always wanted to defeat Mayavad. But people are not interested in that authentic understanding of the scriptures, right? They get easily fooled by the so-called gurus, right? And the world is filled with those, and I don't think we need to discuss about them. We know them, and we discussed all about them. And what they are compared to vultures. Why vultures? Because what does vultures do, right? Vultures feed on the dead bodies, right? And these and they are abominable, right? These vultures will take advantage of any situation, right? They will take advantage of anybody's pain or bad situation, right? If you get injured and you have fallen down, and the vultures will come and eat you. They don't care about your pain, right? So these vultures are compared to that, and these pseudo gurus similarly actually want to plunder the wealth of the people and take advantage of them, and hence they are compared to the vultures. And herons and crows, all these animals which are mentioned here, basically feed on people's misery, right? They are, or I would say, feed on others' misery, right? And hence these pseudo gurus and are compared to them, right? And so in order to not fall into this, one must take shelter of a authorized spiritual guru in order to make progress, right? Because these cannot save us from the clutches of death, imminent death, which is going to happen no matter what in whatever situation we are in. Death is certain. So anybody who is born here is going to die, right? Punarapi janamnam, punarapi maranam. So that is going to happen. So in order to get out of this cycle of birth and death, The only path is to serve the Supreme Lord and to serve his devotees, so that we can, this Hari Chakra, we can be saved from this this powerful energy of the Lord, and it is which is impossible to check unless and until we surrender to the Supreme Lord, right? And the purport also talks about it. So that's why it is that what Prabhupada mentions here is that the Supreme Lord has left behind these scriptures, right? We should refer to them rather than trying to take shelter of man-made scriptures or trying to compete with Lord Krishna, right? So that's the point. Let's move on. 30th translation. Anybody would want to read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Could you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. Text 30, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. This is the pseudo swamis, yogis, and incarnations who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead are known as Pashandis. They themselves are fallen and cheated because they do not know the real path of spiritual advancement. And whoever goes to them is certainly cheated in his turn. When one is thus cheated, he sometimes takes shelter of the real followers of Vedic principles. Brahmanas are those in Krishna consciousness who teach everyone how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the Vedic rituals. However, being unable to stick to these principles, these rascals again fall down and take shelter among Shudras, who are very expert in things. Sex is very prominent among animals like monkeys, and such people who are enlightened by sex may be called descendants of monkeys. Very
Hare
well.
Krishna. Hare Bol, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you would like to read the purport, one paragraph?
Let me read. Thank you, Prabhu. Purport. By fulfilling the process of evolution from aquatics to the animal platform, a living entity eventually reaches the human form. The three modes of middle nature are always working in the evolutionary process. Those who come to the human form through the quality of Sattva-guna were cows in their last animal incarnation. Those who come to the human form through the quality of Rajoguna were lions in their last animal incarnation. And those who come to the human form through the quality of Tamoguna were monkeys in their last animal incarnation. In this age, those who come through the monkey species are considered by modern anthropologists like Darwin to be descendants of monkeys. We receive information herein that those who are simply interested in sex are actually no better than monkeys. Monkeys are very expert in sexual enjoyment, and sometimes sex glands are taken from monkeys and placed in the human body so that a human being can enjoy sex in old age. In this way, modern civilization has advanced. Many monkeys in India were caught and sent to Europe so that their sex glands could serve as replacements for those of old people. Those who actually descend from the monkeys are interested in expanding their aristocratic families through sex. In the Vedas, there are also certain ceremonies especially meant for sexual improvement and promotion to higher planetary systems where the demigods are enjoying sex. The demigods are also very much inclined toward sex because that is the basic principle of material enjoyment.
Hare Krishna. So I'll read the second paragraph of this. First of all, the conditioned soul is cheated by so-called swamis, yogis, and incarnations when he approaches them to be relieved of material miseries. When the conditioned soul is not satisfied with them, he comes to devotees and pure brahmanas who try to elevate him for final liberation from material bondage. However, the unscrupulous conditioned soul cannot rigidly follow the principles prohibiting illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. Thus he falls down and takes shelter of people who are like monkeys. In the Krishna consciousness movement, this monkey disciples, being unable to follow the strict regulative principles, sometimes fall down and try to form societies based on sex. This is the proof that such people are descendants of monkeys as confirmed by Darwin. In this verse, it is therefore clearly stated, Yatha Vanara Jataha. Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, this is really, really gross, right? I mean, you can see how gross this is, correct? Uh, uh, we are talking about monkeys, right? Now, what are the monkeys famous for? Like, what do the monkeys keep on doing, right? The monkeys keep on jumping from one tree to the other tree, right? And they are always always behind this sexual enjoyment, right? In fact, the way it works amongst the monkeys is like, uh, there is a fight, right, between the all the male monkeys. They'll fight, and then one of them will win, and then he becomes the king, kind of thing. And then what is he supposed to do? He will have multiple wives, and have, then he will try to rule, right? It's kind of a kingdom. And then he will have control over the she monkeys, and all of that, right? So if you look at some of these videos, that they explain all this, and that's what uh, Prabhupada is explaining here, right? The monkeys are expert in all this, and Prabhupada is also saying that as confirmed by Darwin, right? I mean, he is referring to Darwin's theory of evolution, that we have come from monkeys, and he's trying to say that materialistic people who want to do all this actually prove that we have come from monkeys, right? And so that's what he's talking about. Another important thing which he's saying here, Prabhupada is saying here, is that people who are in Rajoguna or Tamoguna, I mean, we evolve, right? There is an evolution process, right? Not like what Darwin explains, but we evolve from a lower species to a higher species, and finally we get a human form of life. And so if we are in a Sattva Guna, probably we have come from animals which are in Sattva Guna, like cow. And then if we are in Rajoguna, we have probably come from animals which are in Rajoguna, like lion. So these examples are given. And based on our previous birth, we could be in one of these gunas. But in human form of life, it is always possible to elevate ourselves, right? Because that intelligence is given, and it is possible to slowly elevate ourselves, so that we can break this cycle of birth and death, right? So so let's move on. 31. Anybody want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam. Shall I read?
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
In this way, the descendants of the monkeys intermingle with each other, and they are generally known as Shudras. Without hesitating, they live and move freely, not knowing the goal of life. They are captivated simply by seeing the faces of one another, which remind them of sense gratification. They are always engaged in material activities known as Gramya Karma, and they work hard for material benefit. Thus, they forget completely that one day their small lifespans will be finished and they will be degraded in the evolutionary cycle. Purport. Shall I read the purport also?
Yeah. Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Materialistic people are sometimes called Shudras or descendants of monkeys due to their monkey-like intelligence. They do not care to know how the evolutionary process is taking place, nor are they eager to know what will happen after they finish their small human lifespan. This is the attitude of Shudras. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, this Krishna consciousness movement, is trying to elevate Shudras to the Brahmana platform so that they will know the real goal of life. Unfortunately, being overly attached to sense gratification, materialists are not serious in helping this movement. Instead, the activities of the some of them try to suppress it. Thus, it is the business of monkeys to disturb the activities of the Brahmanas. The descendants of monkeys completely forget that they have to die and they are very proud of scientific knowledge and the progress of material civilization. The word Gramya Karmana indicates activities meant only for the improvement of bodily comfort. Presently, all activities meant only for the improvement of bodily comforts. Presently, all human society is engaged in improving economic conditions and bodily comforts. People are not interested in knowing what is going to happen after death, nor do they believe in the transmigration of the soul. When one scientifically studies the evolutionary theory, one can understand that human life is a junction where one may take the path of promotion or degradation. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.25, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan, Pitrun Yanti Pitruvrataha, Bhutani Yanti Bhutejya, Yanti Mad Yajinopimam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors, and those who worship me will live with me. In this life, we have to prepare ourselves for promotion to the next life. Those who are in the mode of Rajoguna are generally interested in being promoted to the heavenly planets. Some unknowingly are degraded to lower animal forms. Those in the mode of goodness can engage in devotional service, and after that, they can return home back to Godhead. Yantimad Yajinopimam. That is the real purpose of human life. This Krishna consciousness movement is trying to bring intelligent human beings to the platform of devotional service. Instead of wasting time trying to attain a better position in material life, one should simply endeavor to return home back to Godhead. Then all problems will be solved. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.17, Shrinwatam swa katha Krishnaha punyashravana kirtanaha hridi antahastho hi abhadrani vidhunoti shruhrut satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. One simply has to follow the regulative principles, act like a Brahmana, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, one purifies himself of the baser materials, modes, tamoguna and rajoguna, and becoming freed from the greed of these modes, can attain complete peace of mind. In this way, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and one's relationship with Him, and thus be promoted to the highest perfection. Siddhim Paramam Gataha. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. So, I think the purport is very, very clear, crystal clear. And actually this shows the compassion of Srila Prabhupada, right? That he is again and again saying that, right? What is the real purpose? He's very clearly stating the real purpose of human life, right? I mean, one purport, right? One purport you read, it will tell you what is the purpose of life, right? Human life, especially, right? Purpose of human life, right? And the purpose of human life is to go home back to Godhead, right? And how to do it? It's to engage in devotional service. By engaging in devotional service, serving the Supreme Lord and his devotees, and like this these 4 lines, right? These 4 lines, you can see he has very clearly stated. One has to follow the regulative principles, act like a Brahmana, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That's it. One line states it very, very clearly what needs to be done in the human form of life, right? Nothing more is required. Again, it is not easy, right? That's why we need association of devotees, and association of devotees is what helps us to do this. But if you read only this one paragraph, you will understand what needs to be done, right? If you are intelligent. Now, the biggest challenge is we are not intelligent, right? That's why it needs to be repeated again and again and again for us to be able to understand, right? Even if we see the problem with even if we are trying to become devotees, right? We are not devotees, we are trying to become, right? We are trying to practice. but that propensity to enjoy, right, doesn't go. It is not easy to get rid of it, right, because it has come for from so many births, right. So we have to be continuously reminded of this, and when we read the purports of Srila Prabhupada, we can see this point coming out again and again, right. One line explains the purpose and clarifies or gives it so very crystal clear, right. You don't need to do anything apart from this. Nothing more is required as as what is described in this one line, correct. There are details. Obviously there are details, but this gives you the complete complete picture of what needs to be done if you want to attain Godhead, right. And uh, and the Supreme Lord always helps the devotees, right. Because once you start hearing about him, he as a super soul cleans up our heart, right, cleans the desire for material enjoyment. Unless we surrender to the Supreme Lord, it is not possible to overcome Maya, right. And Lord Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, right. Mam Maya Durattaya. It's not possible to overcome the material energy, but by surrendering to the Supreme Lord, it is possible. And by following the footsteps of acharyas, it is possible. By associating with the devotees, it is possible. And that's the formula which our scriptures are giving us, and Prabhupada is very clearly explaining that here, in this one line and one paragraph of what needs to be done. Apart from that, it's just this discussion between uh, Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj about this will just continue, right. We're talking about this Gramya Karma, right. We before we came to Krishna consciousness, that is what we were doing, right. We were trying to acquire our education, trying to get better and better jobs, trying to acquire more money, trying to basically increase our bodily comforts, right. And the modern society is based on that. All innovations you find are trying to simply increase the bodily comfort, nothing more than that. And this will continue. And the problem is that the more we try, the more we become frustrated, right. uh, and we can see that our the frustration which is there, right. I mean, we are saying the modern society is improving, or the science and technology is trying to improve things, but the more they try, the more the things remain the same, correct. We can clearly see this they cannot solve simple basic problems, right. They cannot solve problems of hunger. We can see they themselves give the statistics, so many people are dying of hunger and so on and so forth. So if they cannot solve these basic problems, no matter how advanced we become, uh, it is all futile. And we can clearly see that, because again, the 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 efforts are directed at the wrong place. That's why they will always be frustrated. uh, and Srimad Bhagavatam, which was written so many years back, I mean, we'll see going forward, like it talks about that people will not have place to sit, and I mean, they'll struggle so much, right. In those ages, when this was Srimad Bhagavatam was discussed and written, nothing of that sort was there, right. Nobody was dying of hunger or anything. But it could predict that in Kali Yuga all this will happen, and we can see this happening right in front of us. So we'll see that going forward, what it talks about. Let's move on. I think Satyadev Prabhuji, you raised your hand. You want to read?
Yeah, Prabhuji, read. And I have one question also, Prabhuji.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, it is so clearly mentioned here, but when it comes to scientists, Prabhuji, like they always say that humans are hunter gatherers, and then we evolved. Like earlier, we used to stay as a nomads. Places from we used to move from places to places, and that is what is all in the books also. Like how what kids are reading, like
Mhm.
humans evolved, and then they used to be like a nomadic tribes, and which changed from moved from places to places, and then they settled in some river beds, all those. So how we can contradict these with our this philosophy. Sometimes it's when kids comes and ask, okay, this is what is written in the books.
So Prabhuji, right? See, Suma Mataji explained, right? She said education is one of our enemies, right? That education which we are giving is one of our enemies, and that's what that education is teaching us, that to not believe in scriptures. That's
Hmm.
how they want to project it, right? If they see, it's not just that they are opposing Vedic scriptures, right? Even
Hmm.
education, they are opposing the church, right? They are opposing, I mean, they are opposing everything. They don't want to. So that education system which we have, unfortunately, is one of our enemies, and that's what they are promoting, right? They are promoting this. So
Hmm.
as I mean, it's extremely difficult to fight against all of this, right? The only thing is that we should understand that that we cannot win this wars. We don't need to. In fact, we don't need to. It is only when we slowly start this devotional process the things become clear. So instead of trying to explain to them, because it's not possible, I mean, just think about this, right? If we would have not come into Krishna consciousness, if we would have not done some little, very little devotional service, if somebody would have said this to us, would we accept? Will not accept, right? I would have not accepted. Even, I mean, if somebody told me that before coming to trying to right, before trying to do some devotional service, and somebody told me this knowledge, I would not accept it. "यार, क्या फेंक रहे तुम, ये सब फालतू बातें हैं," right? We would say like this, correct?
Yes,
But
Prabhuji.
now we are able to understand, right? So instead of trying to tell them or explain to them, it is better that we uh, involve them in devotional service, and slowly they will themselves realize it. And that's how I think is a practical way to uh, to make them understand. Otherwise, as Suma Mataji explained, right?
Hmm.
Education is one of our enemies.
Hmm.
This material education is one of our enemies,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, and your question clearly proves that, right? In fact,
Hmm. Yes,
correct,
Prabhuji. Yeah, yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah. I'll read Prabhuji next.
yeah,
This is the one, Prabhuji, or this I
yeah.
think.
32.
Okay, okay. Translation. Just as monkeys jump from one tree to another tree, uh, just as a monkey jumps from one tree to another tree, a conditioned soul jumps from one body to another. As the monkey is ultimately captured by a hunter and is unable to get out of captivity, the conditioned soul being captivated by the momentary sex pleasure becomes attached to different types of bodies and is engaged in the family life. Family life affords the conditioned soul a festival of momentary sex pleasure, and thus he is completely unable to get out of the material clutches. Purport. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.9.29, Visva Vishaya Kula Sarve Tha Syat Syayat. Bodies, necessities, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending are all very easily available in any form of life. It is stated here that the Vanara monkey is very much attached to sex. Each monkey keeps at least 2 dozen wives, and he jumps from one tree to another tree to capture the female monkey, and thus he immediately engages in sexual intercourse. In this way, the monkey's business is to jump from one tree to another tree and enjoy sex with his wives. The conditioned soul is doing the same thing, transmigrating from one body to another and engaging sex. He thus completely forgets how to become free from the clutches of the material engagement. Sometimes the monkey is captured by a hunter who sells its body to a doctor so that it its glands can be removed from the benefit of another monkey. This is going on in the name of economic development and improved sex life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think this is very, very clear.
Very gross.
There is nothing to explain. Very gross, right? extremely gross, and this is what we can see what is happening around. All our efforts are to increase this the actually the modern society is based on this principle, right, of improved sex life, right? Everything what is being done is just to see, people want to enjoy sex, but they want more money, more bigger house, bigger everything, bigger cars, so that they can attract the other sex. And that's what monkeys do, right? They jump from one tree to another tree, capture and enjoy, right? So that's what Prabhupada has mentioned here. So let's move on. 5.14.33. Anybody would want to read?
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hello.
Yeah, Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And this is 14.33.
Right, Mataji.
Right, Prabhuji?
Yeah, 14.33.
30.
Correct.
Yeah. In this material world, when the conditioned soul forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of God and does not care for Krishna consciousness, he simply engages in different types of mischievous and sinful activities. He is then subjected to the threefold miseries, and out of fear of the elephant of death, he falls into the darkness found in the mountain cave. Everyone is afraid of death, and however strong a materialistic person may be, when there is disease and old age, one must certainly accept death's notice. The conditioned soul becomes very morose to receive notice of death. His fear is compared to the fear. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Mataji, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, I can hear
Hello,
you,
can you
Mataji.
hear me?
Yeah, Mataji, I can hear you. I'll
The
just finish.
conditioned soul becomes very morose.
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji. Go ahead.
The conditioned soul becomes very morose to receive notice of death. His fear is compared to the fear experienced upon entering a dark mountain cave, and death is compared to a great elephant.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So now we can see here is what Prabhupada says is then subjected to threefold miseries, right? So we know about these threefold miseries, correct? Right? We have studied this in our SSR, and the that is compared to an elephant, right? Now we have seen this, right? People are very afraid of death. Why is that? Now, I mean, you might have seen very strong people. For example, to give you an example, right? We have always heard of this great boxer called Muhammad Ali, right? We have heard how strong he was, and he's actually associated with that strength and all. Now that same Muhammad Ali, he was actually asked to inaugurate the Olympic Games, right? He was supposed to lit the torch for the Olympic Games, I think in Atlanta, and so the organizers were actually, I mean, they wanted him to lit that flame, right? So he was given that torch and asked to lit. So his hands were shaking. His hands were literally shaking because of old age and disease, and with great difficulty he lit that flame, right? And if you have seen Muhammad Ali, right, he's considered to be one of the greatest boxers, right? He was very fast, strong, but you can see that old age and disease affects everybody. No matter how strong you are, how powerful you are, death and disease will come, right? We have heard of, or if you have seen Steve Jobs, right? He got cancer, and if you have seen his photo just before his death, he's seen to be very pale and weak, and you cannot even recognize him. And then if you look at Steve Jobs, and his presentations on stage, you can see that he's powerful, he's talking and trying to influence people. But then that same person, when he becomes diseased and you can see that the difference, right? And you can clearly see they are very fearful. He looked so fearful actually. If you see his photograph now before death, I mean, it is very difficult to look at that. Very weak and pale, and somebody is holding him to actually allow him to stand. And mind you, it will happen with each one of us also. So the point is, if we just follow this materialistic way of life, where we just want to keep on enjoying, a day will come when we will also become fearful of that, right? Fearful of death. And that's why if we want to avoid all of that, we have to just take to Krishna consciousness, or take to bhakti, wherein we can be very happy and peaceful when we die, right? And we can easily compare this with what the devotees go through, right? There is kirtan going on, there is so much, I mean, we have seen it, we have experienced that passing away of devotees. They go with so much bliss and happiness that yes, I'm going to meet Krishna, right? And look at people who are materialistic and when they die. So we can clearly see the difference between these two things. And so for us, it is what we should take a lesson is please continue this Krishna consciousness, don't leave it, and then you will also be saved from this fear of death of elephant, right? Fear of the elephant of death, right? As the death is compared to the elephant. Okay, let's move on. 34 translation. The conditioned soul suffers many miserable bodily conditions, such as being affected by severe cold and strong winds. He also suffers due to activities of other living beings and due to natural disturbances. When he is unable to counteract them and has to remain in a miserable condition, he naturally becomes very morose because he wants to enjoy material facilities. So again, these threefold miseries are described here, right? What happens, and the threefold miseries are mentioned. So let's move on. 35 translation. Sometimes conditioned souls exchange money, but in due course of time, enmity arises because of cheating. Although there may be a tiny profit, the conditioned souls cease to be friends and become enemies. Parpat. Anybody would want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Danvat Pranam.
As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, 8th shloka, Pumsav striya mituni bhavam etam tayor mito hridaya granthim ahuhu ato grihakshetra suttapta vitai janasya mohoyam aham mameti. The monkey-like conditioned soul first becomes attached to sex, and when intercourse actually takes place, he becomes more attached. He then requires some material comforts, apartments, house, food, friends, wealth, and so on. In order to acquire these things, he has to cheat others, and this creates enmity even among the most intimate friends. Sometimes this enmity is created between the conditioned soul and the father or spiritual master. Unless one is firmly fixed in the regulative principles, one may perform mischievous acts, even if one is a member of the Krishna conscious movement. We therefore advise our disciple to strictly follow the regulative principles. Otherwise, the most important movement for the upliftment of humanity will be hampered due to dissension among its members. Those who are serious about pushing forward this Krishna conscious movement should remember this and strictly follow the regulative principles so that their mind will not be disturbed. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So here Prabhupada is giving us a very, very important message, right? Very, very important, that he's saying that we therefore advise our disciples to strictly follow the regulative principles, right? So for us, devotees, this is very, very important that we strictly follow the regulative principles. This is what Prabhupada is saying. Otherwise, what will happen? It will lead to dissension, right? And we will fall down, right? We have seen people falling down, right? We have seen many. I mean, see, we are nothing. We are absolutely nothing. We have seen. I mean, even unfortunately, right? Even Prabhupada disciples, some of them fell down, right? So what? Who are we? We are nothing, right? So it is very, very important that we take this very seriously. That we have to follow the regulative principles very, very strictly. Do not compromise on them. Otherwise, eventually it will lead to our fall down, right? And Prabhupada is not, see, he's not writing this statement. He's writing this statement because he has seen this, right? He has experienced this, that what happens, right? He knows all this. And so, see, there are, like we say now, there are 3 levels of intelligence, right? One is people who listen and understand, right? So if you are in that category, we should take this advice and listen to it, right? Some are who want to experience, right? So there are people who would actually not follow the regulative principles and then fall down, right? And then they cannot come back, right? Just a moment. And then there are people who again continuously keep on doing that same mistake. So we should be in the intelligence. We should have this intelligence. Somebody is telling us to, so we should take that advice and strictly follow this. So we should underline this statement that we should strictly follow the regulative principles if you have to continue in Krishna consciousness, right? Okay. Let's move on. 5.14.36. Anybody want to read? Okay, I'll read. Sometime. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Go ahead. Dhanvat Prabhuji. Please go ahead, Madhusudan Prabhuji.
Yeah. Sometimes, having no money, the conditioned soul does not get sufficient accommodations. Sometimes he does not even have a place to sit, nor does he have the other necessities. In other words, he falls into scarcity. And at that time, when he is unable to secure the necessities by fair means, he decides to seize the property of others unfairly. When he cannot get the things he wants, he simply receives insults from others and thus becomes a very morose. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. It is said that necessity knows no law. When the conditioned soul needs money to acquire life's bare necessities, he adopts any means. He begs, borrows, or steals. Instead of receiving these things, he is insulted and chastised. Unless one is very well organized, one cannot accumulate riches by unfair means. Even if one acquires riches by unfair means, he cannot avoid punishment and insult from the government or the general populace. There are many instances of important people's embezzling money, getting caught, and being put in prison. One may be able to avoid the punishment of prison, but one cannot avoid the punishment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who works through the agency of material nature. This is described in Bhagavad Gita 7.14. Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Drutyaya. Nature is very cruel. She does not excuse anyone. When people do not care for nature, they commit all kinds of sinful activities and consequently they have to suffer. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Beta Dharu. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry. Yeah, we can see here what we are talking, that as I said earlier, right, that people do not even have bare necessities in life, right? They do not have a place to live, or I mean, I go to I take my kids early in the morning. They go to play for basketball, right? When I go, I see people sleeping on the footpath, right? You can see people begging on the traffic signal, and like I mean, few years back, right? I was sitting in my office, right, and there is a construction going just besides, right, the office. They were, and it was like April or May, hot sun, right, and they were doing blasting of those craters in that hot sun, and even construction workers, right, they are working in that hot sun. They are working so hard to do. They're doing construction in that hot sun, and to earn something, right, just to earn something, so that they can have those bare necessities in life. Now you might think, why is this being spoken here? Why is uh, Sukdev Goswami talking about all this, and that to Parikshit Maharaj, right? So again, as I explained, right, I mean, it might not make sense to us, right? I mean, it might not make sense for somebody who's a brahmachari, or somebody who's a reasonably well settled grahastha, that they have to struggle for the necessities in life, right? But that's, as I said, right, Srimad Bhagavatam, the one of the purpose is to destroy this attraction to the material world, and hence Sukadev Goswami is telling all this to Parikshit Maharaj. Now imagine the situation of Parikshit Maharaj, right? He how would he imagine this kind of thing, right? He was the emperor of the world, and in his kingdom nobody had to go through this, and Sukadev Goswami telling Parikshit Maharaj that this is what will happen, or rather, right, in the material world, and we can see this clearly, and another important point here is, people try to acquire wealth, so and they get sometimes caught, and sometimes they don't get caught, and they feel that, oh wow, I am so great, I have not been caught for my unfair means, right? But please do understand that you may not be caught by the government, or you might escape that prison term, but material nature will not leave you. Material nature is very strong, and it will not leave. And what is the biggest punishment the material nature can give you? The biggest punishment you can get is forgetting about God, right? I mean, you get a human form of life and you forget about God. You cannot remember God. That's the biggest punishment you will get, right? I mean, you might be punished for having a bad body, having some problems and all that. That is okay. But the biggest punishment which you will get is you cannot remember God, right? You can see people. There are many people who, no matter how much people tell them, or there are so many good preachers which we have, right? They are trying to preach, but certain people, they just don't want to learn. And why? Because they have received this punishment from the material nature, that they cannot understand about God. And that is the biggest punishment you can get. A person, I mean, he might have all the wealth and all that, right? But the punishment is actually that he cannot understand about God. And you can see there are many people around nowadays in Kali Yuga who just cannot or will not want to understand about God. And it is because they have got this punishment from material nature for all their bad things which they have done. So Prabhuji and Mataji, like, whoever we are in satsang, right, we are fortunate that we had that desire to understand about God, and because we did some good sukriti which we have, that we are part of the satsang and we are getting this knowledge and education. Otherwise, the biggest punishment material nature gives you is you forget about God, and then you just simply keep descending lower and lower and lower, and you cannot come out of it. Let's move on. 37. Anybody want to read? Hare Krishna.
Translation. Although people may be envy in order to fulfill their desires again and again, they sometimes get married. Unfortunately, these marriages do not last very long, and the people involved in people are separated again by divorce or other means. Purport. As stated previously, uh, every conditioned soul has the propensity to cheat, even in marriage. Everywhere in this material world, one conditioned soul is envious of another. For the time being, people may remain friends, but eventually they become enemies again and fight over money. Sometimes they marry and then separate by divorce or other means. On the whole, unity is never permanent. Due to the cheating propensity, both parties always remain envious. Even in Krishna consciousness, separation and enmity takes place due to the uh, prominence of material propensities.
Hare Krishna. I think again the translation and purport are very clear. We can see these effects all around. That it has become fashionable. I mean, it is surprise. I mean, it's going. I mean, it's so. It has reached such levels even in India that people cheat in their marriages and again, right, you might not get caught, but then material nature will not leave you, right? So you do something bad to others, that bad will come to you, and you will be punished for that. So and we can see this happening. The rate of divorce is increasing in India as well now, and people cheating around in their marriages. And they consider it to be fashion. They think they are very great doing that. So and that's what is the, as you can see, that slowly taking the royal road to hell, right? That's what is happening. And it is all because it is a vicious circle, right? You cannot come out of it because of your past deeds and because of your propensity to enjoy the material world, right? And Prabhupada also makes a point, right, that there are sometimes even fighting or enmity even in the Krishna consciousness because of the prominence of material propensities. But one thing we should understand from this is that, like, there might be some disturbances between two Vaishnavas, right? But we as devotees, right, I mean, we should not get affected by it. We should not think anything wrong about one devotee or the other devotee, because see, there might be something going on between them, right? That is between them and Krishna, right? We should leave it at that. If those fights which are happening, they start affecting us, or we start getting affected by them, then it has an impact on our Krishna consciousness, right? And like there can be a misunderstanding, and they might sort out those differences later, but we might get impacted very badly because of that. So we should be careful. Even if there is a fight between devotees, or even if there is something happening between devotees, we should not get involved or not get affected by it. Should not, unless and until somebody is asking us, right? We should not be the ones poking our nose into it, right? That's our general propensity, right? People, we enjoy, right, to gossip and all that, but that is very, very dangerous, and it can lead to our Krishna consciousness getting affected, because it's sometimes this happens, right, that there are some differences of opinion and something going on, and if we just simply start thinking too much about, oh, that Prabhuji is like that Prabhuji is like that, it affects our Krishna consciousness, and it leads us to not make progress. So any I mean, generally, like, it can happen between two senior devotees also, and they may resolve it also, right? But we getting affected by it is what will, I mean, it will hamper our Krishna consciousness. So we should be very, very careful in devotee circle, not to poke our nose between something which is happening between some devotees, right? Just continue, be neutral. Nobody is asking us to get involved or poke our nose, and do not overthink when some things happen like this. Let's move on. 38. Again, a big translation.
Should I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, go ahead.
Especially, the path of this material world is full of material misery and various troubles disturb the conditioned soul. Sometimes he loses and sometimes he gains. In either case, the path is full of danger. Sometimes the conditioned soul is separated from father by death or other circumstances. Living beside, he gradually becomes attached to others, such as his children. In this way, the conditioned soul is sometimes illusioned by pride. Sometimes he cries loudly out of fear. Sometimes he is happy maintaining his family. And sometimes he is overjoyed and sings melodiously. In this way, he becomes entangled and forgets his separation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead since the time immemorial. Thus, he travels the dangerous path of material existence, and on this path, he is not at all happy. Those who are self-realized simply take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to get out of this dangerous material existence. Without accepting the devotional path, one cannot get out of these clutches of the material existence. The conclusion is that no one can be happy in the material life. One must take to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhuji, if you want to read.
Yeah. Purport. By thoroughly analyzing the materialistic way of life, the sane man can understand that there is not the least happiness in this world. However, due to continuing on path of danger from time immemorial and not associated with the saintly persons, the continuing soul under illusion want to enjoy this material world. Material energy sometimes gives him a chance to at so-called happiness, but the conditioned soul is perpetually being punished by the materialist. It is therefore said, Dandya Jana Raja Yena Nadite Chupaye. Materialistic life means continuous unhappiness, but sometimes we accept happiness as it appears between the gaps. Sometimes a condemned person is submerged in water and hauled out. Actually, all this is meant for punishment, but he feels a little comfort when he is taken out of these waters. Thus, this is the situation with the conditioned soul. All the Shastras therefore advise that one associated with devotees and saintly person. साधु संग सर्व शास्त्र करे लभ मात्र साधु संग सर्व सिद्धि हारे. Even by a little association with the devotees, the conditioned soul can get out of this miserable material condition. This Krishna consciousness movement is therefore trying to give everyone a chance to associate with saintly people. Therefore, all the members of this Krishna consciousness society must themselves be perfect sadhus in order to give a chance to fallen conditioned soul. This is the best humanitarian work. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad. Thank you so much. See see who are the this question, if you ask, right, who are the cream of the people, right, of the world? So the cream is actually the devotees of the Lord, right? And we are in such a perfect society, right, that we get to associate with that cream of the people of this world, right? Because we get that association of devotees, right? We get association of people like Radhesham Prabhuji, right? We get the association of people of Maharaj, right? And these are the people who are the cream of this world, who are what I mean, we should aspire to, right? And what Prabhupada is asking us is, by taking association of these people, we should also shape or also try to become like them, right? We should follow in their footsteps, not become like them, but follow in their footsteps, such that we also become pure, and then somebody who is associating with us will have that benefit, right? So he is asking, and he's saying this is the best humanitarian work, right? This is the best philanthropical work which you can do, that taking to Krishna consciousness and providing this Krishna consciousness to everybody in the society. That is the best humanitarian work, right? And if we do that, our life will be successful, and we can easily then go back home, back to Godhead. So, and again, here in the translation, it's very, very clear. It talks about the dangers of the material world, what happens for a person who follows this material way of life, and it is very, very self-explanatory in this case. Let's move on. 39. Yeah, Prabhuji.
Just one, like those people who are like, well, who think that life is going very smoothly and they don't have any problems, I'm doing very maybe we can imagine that in that the previous example that somebody is submerged in the water and then pulled out, and they'll say a small breath, oh, they just take a good breath and say, oh, this is happening. So can we say that the life that they are leading is that gap, that they're thinking that, oh, my life is happy. That means
Prabhuji, I'm sorry, but your voice is not very clear to me. Can you, I mean, it's little, can you repeat? Sorry, I'm extremely. Yeah, Prabhuji.
Is it okay now? Clear?
Now, yeah, it is better now.
Okay. Now, what I'm saying is, some people, they think that the life is going very smoothly. Like generally, when you ask, "Oh, my life is going very smoothly. Everything is on track. With their life, marriage is good, kids are doing well, all those things." So, but still, they don't come to Krishna consciousness. So, for them, can we relate this example like they're just taking a small breath from people, like they're submerged in the water and then pulled out, their head is pulled out, and then they just a small breath.
Yeah, Prabhuji. See, I mean, try to understand that there are phases. There is always a phase, right? We have happiness, then we get distress, then happiness, then distress, right? So there is a period of time when we feel happy, right? We feel that things are going according to what I want. Even like we look in our office, right? Sometimes we do very good, right? No matter, I mean, we might not have put in so much effort, but the results are so good, right? And we feel happy about it. And sometimes like we put in so much effort, but the results are not good, and we feel depressed in that. So this cycle of, as you said, right, sometimes people feel that everything is going well, and is it synonymous to it that we have been brought out of the water, right? It's exactly like that. We have this stages of happiness and distress coming in, and it is exactly compared here with like somebody who's getting punished, right? He's put into the water, that's the phase of distress, and he's brought out, oh, he feels comfortable slightly, and then again is put back. So that is what it is compared to, as you mentioned. So what you are saying is absolutely correct.
Yeah, what I mean is, the entire lifespan also can be like one breather. Like maybe they are thinking that this entire lifespan is going smoothly. It is just a breather for that one. The soul is passing through that one lifespan, but maybe in the next lifespan he may go through misery.
Yeah, could be like, but generally, Prabhuji, nobody is given up where he's just happy, right? It just cannot happen. Even with super rich people, right? It's not that they are just simply happy. I mean, there is so much anxiety here, right? Like so much anxiety. As Suma Mataji was saying, right? I might have a great big house, everything is looking good, I have a great job, but everything is giving anxiety, right? It gives anxiety. No matter how hard you try, like people who are rich, they are anxious, like somebody might take away their wealth, right? They have that anxiety, right? So, and poor people, they have the anxiety to acquire something, right? To acquire the basic So you can look around that people are in anxiety, and nobody is happy permanently. So what you're saying is, like, can we think of it like this lifespan itself is that I have come out of water and I'm feeling comfortable? I think generally that does not happen. In one lifespan, you are pushed up and down many times. In fact, that's what I would think. And it might even be true that as what you're saying. But what we have seen is like that we can have a longer span of happiness and then distress, but then it is always there. Nobody is permanently happy, or right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, let's take 39. So we'll complete till 40 and stop. I don't think we'll finish till 46. It's already getting to 9 o'clock. So let's try to do two more shlokas and we'll stop. So translation for 39. Saintly persons who are friends to all living entities have a peaceful consciousness. They have controlled their senses and mind, and they easily attain the path of liberation, the path back to Godhead. Being unfortunate and attached to miserable material condition, a materialistic person cannot associate with them. Purport. The great saint Jadbharata described both the miserable conditions and the means to get out. The only way out of it is association with devotees, and this association is very easy. Although unfortunate people also get this opportunity, due to their great misfortune, they cannot take shelter of pure devotees, and consequently they continuously suffer. Nonetheless, this Krishna consciousness movement insists that everyone take to this path by adopting the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The preachers of Krishna consciousness go from door to door to inform people how they can be relieved from the miserable conditions of material life. As stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. By the mercy of Krishna and Guru, one can get the seed of devotional service. If one is a little intelligent, he can cultivate Krishna consciousness and be freed from the miserable conditions of material life. I think this is very, very clear. So we will move ahead. The only point here is that, see, everybody gets a chance, right? Everybody, as Prabhupada said, that unfortunate people also get this opportunity, but due to their great misfortune, they cannot take shelter. So this opportunity to take association of devotees is given to everybody, and it's just that misfortune that people reject it. Like as we can see, satsang is getting conducted at so many places, but people do not come to it. So that is their misfortune, right? And the preachers in our congregation, right, they take so much effort to organize these programs so that this can be given to people, this knowledge can be given to people, but as I said, right, people are not interested because they have received that punishment that they would not be interested in God, and maximum many of them, that's why they do not want to come for this. Let's move on. 40. Translation. There were many great saintly kings who were very expert in performing sacrificial rituals and very competent in conquering other kingdoms. Yet despite their power, they could not attain the loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is because those great kings could not even conquer the false consciousness of I am this body and this is my property. Thus, they simply created enmity with rival kings, fought with them, and died without having discharged life's real mission. Purport. The real mission of life for the conditioned soul is to reestablish the forgotten relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service so that he may revive Krishna consciousness after giving up the body. One doesn't have to give up his occupation as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or whatever. In any position, while describing his prescribed duties, one can develop Krishna consciousness simply by associating with devotees who are representative of Krishna and who can teach this science. Regretfully, the big politicians and leaders in the material world simply create enmity and are not interested in spiritual advancement. Material advancement may be very pleasing to an ordinary man, but ultimately he is defeated because he identifies himself with the material body and considers everything related to it to be his property. This ignorance, actually, this is ignorance. Actually, nothing belongs to him, not even the body. By one's karma, one gets a particular body, and if he does not utilize his body to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all his activities are frustrated. The real purpose of life is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.13. Atha pumbhir dvija shreshta varnashrama vibhagasha swanushtistaha dharmasya sam siddhir haritoshanam. It really doesn't matter what activity a man engages in. If he can simply satisfy the Supreme Lord, his life is successful. Sam siddhir haritoshanam. Otherwise, what it is? Shram eva hi kevalam, right? Srimad Bhagavatam states that in that same chapter, that if you don't do this, sam siddhir haritoshanam, then your life is shram eva hi kevalam. And in that same chapter, it is mentioned that either your life is successful if you do this, if you can please the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, it is just a waste of time and effort. You have done only hard work. Shram eva hi kevalam, right? And see, the important point here is like again, what Prabhupada is giving a very practical tip and encouraging us to come to devotional service, right? We don't have to give up anything. See, the problem is not the family, right? The problem is attachment to the family. So it is not that we have to give up everything and just right, because that is not possible for us. It is simply not possible. So whatever may be our situation, whatever may be our condition, we may be rich, poor, or anything, but if we, by just simply discharging our duties and associating with devotees, right, we can develop Krishna consciousness. It is possible to develop Krishna consciousness by remaining in whatever position we are in, and we can advance spiritually, correct, and attain that perfection of life, which is samsiddhir haritoshanam, correct. In order to prevent ourselves from it just becoming hard labor, our life becoming just hard labor. So maybe we can take one more. We'll then stop, or we will stop here. Let's take any questions or comments. I'm sorry. I just simply read some of these translations. I don't have any knowledge. So whatever blabbering I could do, I've done. So please forgive me for that. But I am sure, because this we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, it is all very, very good and auspicious. So any questions, comments, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Sorry, Prabhuji. One question.
Yeah, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Yeah. Prabhuji, just one question is, when a soul is in the animal body, should we think that it's suffering? The soul is suffering?
When the soul is in animal body. Okay.
Should we consider that the soul is suffering in the animal body? Generally, there is no karma effect on animals. Right? We say that it's like a conveyor belt. When once it goes to any animal body, there is no karma. So it has to go through all the whatever bodies it has to take, and then finally, when the time comes, it has to take the human life. And then when it comes to human form of the body, then only we will have the consciousness and then higher consciousness, and then we have to question that, okay, how to attain God consciousness and all that. But when the soul is in the animal body, does it suffer?
So Prabhuji, in animal, see, the animals are mostly, I mean, I'm telling what I know, and I would like maybe Giriraj Prabhuji and others to add to it. So what see, the animals are generally driven by instinct, right? Correct? They are not, they don't have any intelligence, right? They don't have that well developed intelligence. So they, like, for example, if they kill somebody, right, they eat, right? When they have to eat, they even kill newborns, right? They don't care about it, right? So and they are instinct driven. And the soul, which is, see, the Paramatma also enters, uh, I mean, wherever the soul goes, right? The soul goes to an animal body, the Paramatma is also there, correct? And but the soul cannot, I mean, since it is covered by that body, it's trapped inside that body, it cannot remember the Supreme Lord at that time, right? Because it's all it's instinct. As I said, animals are instinct driven, right? So in a way, you can think of it that that the soul is suffering, right? Because it cannot remember, or it is not given it's not given a chance to remember, right? It's trapped in that body, and it is just going from one body to another body in order to burn out the karma which we have acquired from our previous uh, previous lives, right? So in a way, yes, the soul kind of, we can say, it suffers in the animal body. And I would like somebody to correct me if I'm wrong here, and add to what I have said.
Hare Krishna, can I add
Yes,
few
Prabhuji,
points with your
please,
permission?
Prabhuji, please.
In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshu Sukha. So actually, soul is always a part of, eternal part of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sachidananda Vigraha. It's always blissful. It's always pleasure seeking. But it is due to the contact with the material body, it is trying to identify its happiness in a different location. But it is not getting that happiness. Whether it be a human body, animal body, or a demigod body, doesn't matter. But everywhere these four problems does exist. As you have mentioned, the only place where the soul gets happiness is when it remembers Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in your animal body, there is no chance. As you said, the intelligence is not completely developed. It is instinct driven. The soul cannot get a chance to identify Supreme Personality of Godhead. It has to wait till the human body. Then only we can understand Supreme, and we can wait. It's due to the soul is always eternal. Soul is always blissful. But it is in the contact with the human body. Is a body. It is finding pains and pleasures. But animals have more pain. Devatas has more pleasure. Human body, humans have mixture of pain and pleasure.
Okay, right. Thank you, Santoshaditya Prabhuji. Thank you for adding so much. Prabhuji, hope that answers your question. Or
Yes, Prabhuji, absolutely. Thank you.
Hare Shreegopal Prabhu, can I add anything
yes,
on this?
Prabhuji, please.
So I
That's
think
why
the question was, what I have heard, Satya Prabhu, is that that yes, what you're saying is true, that they are actually burning their karmas, and that's the suffering that that they have got, and that's the burning of that karma that is happening in the animal body.
Yeah,
okay,
thank you so much, Prabhu. Actually, why I asked that question, because earlier in the purport, he was referring to that that person getting punished by putting him in the water and then pulling him out. So when the soul is going through that animal body, so that means already that soul is suffering. So that means maybe once, whenever in that cycle of birth and death, when we will be pulled out, maybe some human body got it, and then sometimes we feel that okay, I am happy now, and then again we will be put into the put our head into the water. So that means even the suffering is there in the animal bodies also. The soul is actually suffering in the animal bodies. Can we conclude that? I mean, can we consider that animal bodies are not happy? I mean, it's actually suffering. That's what I want.
Yeah, soul is suffering certainly, Prabhu, in the animal body, and in the human body as well. Soul is suffering because if we are not connected on the spiritual path, then the soul is also suffering as well, because the soul is eternal and wants to get out of this body, and that's why it is suffering.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? We'll stop the class. It's already 9 o'clock.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Prabhuji, animals, you said animals don't have intelligence, right, Prabhuji? Then how can they understood that the soul is suffering or not?
So,
Will
Mataji,
they
it's
feel the pain, Prabhuji? They don't have any intelligence or some mind or something. Just they act according to their karma, right, Prabhuji? They just, the animals are just, if you take the elephant, it eats a lot, but they, how much, they eat lot of quantities, right, Prabhuji? They eat a lot, but they didn't get that much food.
So
They are
Mataji,
suffering.
see,
Just a day-to-day activities only they are doing, but they don't have any intelligence about that, Prabhuji. But how come they understand that their soul is suffering or not?
So Mataji, the suffering for the soul is that when you forget about God, right? That is a suffering for the soul, as
Yes,
Prabhuji said.
right.
And since the animals don't have that intelligence to be able to understand God or think about God, right? That's how they are suffering. And the other aspect is, right, as you said, right, animals, they suffer more also on the bodily platform also, right? Because you can see their struggle, right? What is their struggle? Their struggle is to acquire food. Their struggle is to save their life, right? Because they are continuously being harassed by somebody, something, or like that, right? So they are always fearful, right? They cannot be peaceful, right? They are never peaceful. They are always anxious, right? No matter how, I mean, even the lions are anxious, right? Because somebody else might come and take up their territory. So the animals are always anxious and always on a lookout to. So if you look at it from a bodily platform, also they have no enjoyment, and from a spiritual perspective, their soul also is suffering because they cannot remember God.
They just simply burning their karma, Prabhuji.
They are
That's it.
simply burning their karma, exactly. Yeah, and that's why we say that if we atheist people and others, they take up animal bodies, right? Because the suffering is there in that body, correct? So that's what happens.
Okay. If if some fortunate is there, it can get prasad or something. They elevate to some level, Prabhuji.
Yes. If they are fortunate, and if they, I mean, we have some examples, right, where I mean, we see pictures like a cow coming to the temple for Bhagavatam class, right? We can, or a dog, right? A dog standing outside and taking darshan of the Lord. So that fortune is available, but then it's very, very rare, very, very rare, correct?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we'll close the class. I'll stop sharing.
Prabhuji, this whole conversation, Jadaparati is telling Rahuna.
No, Prabhuji. No. This is not Jad Bharata telling Rahugana. This is actually Sukadev Goswami directly telling to Parikshit Maharaj.
Okay. And
this is not.
Is after the conversation, he's explaining that only. What is the context? Sorry.
This is just a continuation, right? So what if you look into the last chapter, right, of this, so the Jadabharata tells Maharaj Rahugana, explains all this, right? And then Shukdev Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj and saying that he's just simply continuing that conversation to explain the further this material world. And then there will be some shlokas which actually say that somebody who hears this story of Jad Bharata or Maharaj Bharata, so the sukriti of hearing the story actually comes in this chapter. The 2 or 3 shlokas down the line, it talks about the sukriti of hearing the story of Bharat Maharaj. It comes in this chapter, not in the previous chapter. But this is actually Sukadev Goswami directly speaking to Parikshit Maharaj.
Okay. Then almost it's like reading reading Bhagavad Gita. Almost there it's
Yeah. It is almost like that. It is our complete SSR package, right? And everything comes here, right? And to be, as Lilananda Prabhuji said, right? If you read the chapter when you are under distress or something, it will speak very differently to you. And if you are happy and you are reading this, it might be very different, right? So this chapter is really generally what we will see is that when there is a discussion on Bhagavatam, this topic, right? I mean, this particular chapter might not be discussed so much, right? I mean, there are many lectures given. It's not that people have not given lectures on this topic, but then this is not a very I would say a very commonly discussed section of Bhagavatam. In fact, this 5th canto, right? Again, you will see that description of the Vedic, the Vedic cosmology, right? Which will come. That again is not very much discussed, right? You will not find many people talking about that. And this chapter also is something like that. And the reason probably is because this is very heavy, right? It's not an easy thing to read this and understand this. And actually, not just read and understand. It's not about understanding. To actually start applying this, right? This is very difficult, extremely difficult.
Yes, Prabhu. This is very grossly explained and it's very, it's very clearly explained also. Two ways.
Yeah. There is no ifs and buts in this. No ifs and buts, right? There are no ifs and buts. It's very clear and straight. But then, see, we discuss Bhagavatam in the morning, right? After this, we will go to office. We'll start doing everything what is mentioned here. Correct? Because we associate with the material world, that's how we also get impacted by it, and there is no escaping it. But then, if we read this, sometime somewhere in the back of the mind, it will be there, and we'll take decisions which will help us to be Krishna conscious, right? And our activities might slowly become Krishna conscious. Yes, but otherwise we are again like this class will end, and again I'll start doing the same things which are condemned here, right?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Vaccha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhaya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Shreegopal
Thank you
Prabhuji.
so much.
Hari Bol.